All right, hey folks, welcome to episode 68 of Biomassed. We've got random cats running underfoot during the show. This should be pretty awesome. At this point, I'm about to unleash my dog to devour the cat that is desperately attempting to pester us. That being said, but we really do welcome you guys on to episode 68. So for the first time in a little bit, we've actually had some news and shit. So a couple things going on. Obviously, the CPM elections closed, and we do have our new CPM2 elects that, and we can talk a little bit about that. And I think Srizel will be interested to give us a little bit of background on how some of the things inside the election work, of which I think we're all very interesting to hear where these quote unquote 4,000 votes and shit were coming from. Yo, CCP Lilu. So that would be one. And then obviously there's been some technical difficulties in Dust here recently in terms of getting into matches, which I think we're going to address as well. And then on the Eve side, which kind of touches the greater New Eden, sort of background that we all kind of operate in, at least in game, there's been some pretty significant news in the storyline in Eve. There's probably a minor clamoring to get some Dust action involved in that, and we can talk a little bit about that later. So. Other than that, guys, what we're going to do is go ahead and start with our normal format of intros, and then we're going to have the I used to be in the CPM update, followed by kind of that little agenda line that we gave out. So without further ado, folks, let's go ahead and get started. And in honor of the fact that he's no longer going to be on the CPM, we're going to lead off with Srizel.
Yeah, I'm Srizel. I'm a member of the co-host here on the podcast and a editor on the blog, and I used to be in the CPM.
Sweet. All right, now from that, we're going to go take it from the top. So, Bait.
Hey, I'm Aiwha Bait. I'm a member of the Incorruptibles Corporation on Dust 514 and an editor for the Biomassed blog.
Bait, you swapped corpse then, huh?
I did swap corpse.
Remind us to interrogate you about that later.
Oh, absolutely.
Okie dokie. And beginning of the list, Pokey Draven.
Hey, I'm Pokey Draven from OSG Planetary Operations, and I used to be running for CPM too.
Outstanding. Cat Merc. Wow. That says a lot, folks. That's powerful coming from you. Cross.
I'm Cross, member of OSG Planetary Operations, and just crazy enough to have gotten myself onto CPM too.
Yep. You picked the wrong week to start sniffing glue. Okay, Heracles Porsche.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Heracles Porsche here. I got a YouTube channel. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a member of Random Guns, and I would never run for CPM. Never.
Well said. And I am Jason Larison. I'm one of the co-hosts here and one of the background purveyors of the biomass.com website, of which really the driving force behind that is really Pokey and Bait and Zell, and they continue to do a lot of great work on that website. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the I used to be in the CPM update by Srizel.
Okay, so the big thing, of course, is and I'll get into the election details a bit more. But so the new CPM2 are busy, getting their non-disclosure agreements off to Iceland. Before we can tell them all of our deepest darkest secrets, or more accurately, CCP's deepest darkest secrets. But that's coming soon. I did speak to obviously there's been big matchmaking issues, and we've had not a ton of communication with Frame just getting back from vacation. Ritati is still out on vacation. The thing I can tell you is I did talk to CCP Frame literally an hour ago, and I conveyed frustration, and I said that people are running around like we lit their hair on fire, which is probably pretty accurate. But so he did say, there have been posts, and of course there has been a statement by there was that the testing that was done last week on during the EU time zone was kind of some diagnostic work to try and figure out what issues were. There is nothing new to communicate, but as soon as he has something, he will share it. And that's really all that I have on the matchmaking issue. Should I just go right into the CPM2 election stuff?
I had one quick question about matchmaking.
I figured you would.
No, I'm trying to decipher what you said, which was basically there's somebody at least answered the phone, and in the background you heard Texans screaming and people screaming, "Dive, dive!" And then, yeah, we're aware of it all as well. Yeah, no problem here. That's kind of what it sounded like you said. Is that accurate?
No.
Isn't that just business as usual?
Yeah,
I
pretty
was
much.
say,
Probably.
the big news is he actually got somebody to respond about the issue. Good job, Zell.
Correct.
As I said, they obviously they've stated already that they know it's an issue, but they don't have anything they can share right now.
Okie dokie. All right, this should be interesting. So, I guess my question is, at what point? Like, there's really nothing the community can do, but like, when do you think we're at like sort of DEFCON 5? Like, we go like 5-6 straight weeks with this kind of in the current state with no improvement?
I don't know. Has it been that long? I know it's been a few weeks, but I don't know if that's
I think
5 or
we're
6.
about 2.5 or 3 right
Yeah,
now.
we first talked about it on the show 2 weeks ago. But I think it was
So
going
the
on before
moment
then.
Rotati left.
Yes,
That's pretty much
the
what I'm
fucking
tracking.
hamsters died.
Apparently, he's only got with the key to the fucking place where you can put the pellets in there for them to eat. So
There's a button in Rotati's office that needs to be pressed daily, and nobody else at CCP can do it. Only Rotati.
that really doesn't surprise me. All right, so now that we've semi-derailed Gel's update, so please, I'm sorry, go ahead. I just had to ask because I can't imagine that there's that there's not serious concern in Shanghai over it. I guarantee they're probably looking into it, and
Yeah, this
hopefully they
is
can
this
figure
is
something out.
this is a serious issue for them, obviously. And work's being done. Rattati being out of the office doesn't actually mean nothing is getting done here. He's not the person writing the code. But moving on. So we have a CPM2. The people that were elected were Kevel Longstride, or also known as Denny Fleetfoot, Zaria Mindir, Darth Carbonite GIO, Crossa2, Animati, Sergeant Kirk, and Breaking Stuff. And the interesting thing here, so just my side note, toot my own horn, I got 5 out of the 7 people I said should be on the CPM, but on my downside, I failed to elect the first person on my list, which is of course our own Pokey Draven, and this was the hardest hit that I took when actually reading this list. According to initial votes, he was like he got the 9th most first choice votes, and after all of the elimination rounds and such, he was, I think, the 3rd to last person to be eliminated from the group. So that made me sad. Pokey deserves way more attention than he got, and I think a lot of people have noticed that something went seriously wrong for him to get missed here. So one of the interesting things was that the number of the top 7 people who had first choice, the top 7 who got votes based on people's first choices, were the exact same top 7 who actually won. So in the case of this election, at least this initial election, none of the additional votes on the ballot technically mattered. However, where that will matter is if anyone resigns or anyone is removed, because when they replace someone, they rerun the ballot without their name, and so a lot of second choices fill in there. And to give you an example, if Cross was to somehow be like, you know what, I'm sick, I just can't put up with these people anymore, I'm done, I would assume that probably enough of his votes would probably roll over to Pokey that he might be the replacement person representing the same sort of crowd that Cross represented. And I think if, say, Animati resigned or got removed, I think it was actually like Victor Hada Jr. who would jump all the way up to being placed in as his replacement.
I still don't understand how that works.
So when you choose your only vote, the only vote that you cast that counts is the first one that's needed, and usually that's going to be your first vote. But after things are eliminated, after people are eliminated, if your first choice is eliminated, then your vote counts for your second choice, and so on. So if your first choice is removed, then your vote is going to count for your second choice instead of your first choice. And so in that way, if someone gets removed from the council, they're very likely to be replaced by someone who had very similar voters, people who, the second choice of a lot of people who voted that person. So the fact that the 8th and the 9th choice for first initial votes were Sir Manboy and Pokey, but whether or not it wouldn't be the 8th and the 9th that would necessarily fill in if something happened. It would be a recalculation of the votes without the person that was removed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, pretty much. I
In
mean,
a
it's a good description of it. It's interesting when you look at the TV thing, just how it sort of breaks out. I was sitting there kind of thinking through it, and if they did almost kind of a win-place show kind of thing, it's interesting if you apply different voting metrics, how all of this changes dramatically. So win-place show is normally like your first place person on your ballot gets 7 points, second place gets 6, and so forth, and how those numbers would run, because that actually makes your middle and your end of your ballot more important. That being said, this is the system we have. It was interesting. Now, I would be remiss if I did not ask the question. So, where's them 4,000 votes? How did that work out?
Okay, so
I think that was pretty much a blatant snow job by CCP, attempting to drum up interest during the election.
So there was definitely a very clear miscommunication there. The total number of ballots filed was 910 ballots, which is 27 ballots less than last year. Which I do want to note was actually, to me, was really good. I was expecting 500 or 600 votes at best, or ballots at best. So the fact that we pulled as many as we did the previous year, I was pretty happy with that personally. I think that shows the game is still, there are still a lot of people invested in the game and interested in seeing what the results are.
So there's at least 900 people invested in it, tracking. So
yeah,
but I think more to my point is there was a discussion about the 4,000 were individual PSNs.
So that first of all, that number was never officially stated, as far as I know. It tended to get said.
I have a tweet. I have a public tweet from CCP Lulu that said they broke the 2,000 mark.
Yeah. So okay.
And then we asked for
I didn't
clarification.
I didn't follow which numbers did or did not get tweeted by Lilu specifically. But basically, when she was saying the number of votes, that means the number of people selected by voters, aka if you submitted a ballot with only one person on it, that's 1 vote, and if you submitted a full ballot, that was 7 votes. And what I will say is that when we saw the number, we specifically asked for clarification on that, and we were pretty sure we had it, that was referring to ballots, not individual people selected on ballots. So there was,
which is how they report numbers all the time when they do the Eve CSM elections, right? No, it's not.
Yeah,
Who the hell cares about?
I mean, it was. I was annoyed because again, I was really excited about the numbers that I thought we had been informed of. We don't have like a long time working relationship with CCP Lilu. It's really temporary, because she's just here to run the election. So yeah, I wish we had been gotten better clarification on that, and I certainly think that the way that was that ended up getting communicated was deceptive. And that's really the best I can say about that.
Like, who the hell cares that 4,000 people were selected, 7 times or whatever the fuck it is? I mean, really, CCP? Are you trying to make us feel bad? I mean, we feel bad enough as is.
Yeah,
Can't play the damn game, but then you're gonna make us feel really good about, oh my god, 4,000 people are playing this game and voting, and oh no, sorry, there were 4,000 people total selected on the ballots.
Yeah, I mean, ballots are what matter.
6, please.
There were 910 ballots, and that's where it is. And so, unfortunately, I wish we'd gotten to the more accurate communication on that earlier on in the process, but it is what it is, and we once the data is public, the actual vote data that the white paper has them release is what kind of confirms what actually did happen. And that's really all I've got there. There were a couple other random pieces of trivia I picked up from examining the voter data. And one of those is that there was because there was a lot of discussion about whether or not there would be a lot of foreign players who would have gotten on unvoted, and if we might have suddenly seen a ton of foreign candidates spiking up on notes. I will say that there was the 10th choice for first place votes. For first choice votes was a character called Bonita Amor, who is, I guess, very active in the Spanish community, but doesn't really forum much. And during some of the elimination rounds, Bonita actually did end up above Breakin' Stuff briefly. So came pretty close to getting on the CPM, but did not. I do know that they do speak English, and they did answer on the forums when people were asking, like, who was this person? And so, a few different people had pitched in and said, well, you really should, introduce yourself next year. If you try again.
He's a lot like another Sir Manboy. It has a lot of in-game roots and whatnot, but not so much of the forum presence. I was actually in one of my channels, so I've squatted with her a number of times over the past however long.
And then...
It is, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It is a little unfortunate that, the Spanish community is not, like, better represented, because they're clearly, going to become a big part of Dust. Well, they really already are a big part of Dust, but, they should just get more representation, I think. Whatever.
And the Japanese community, too, I think, falls with that presence in Dust. The Japanese players are, but not having a lot of representation. And I hope to see that not fixed. That's not the right word, but I don't know. Maybe some more Japanese or Asian players will stand up and take responsibility for their people, if you will, in the future.
It does seem like the Japanese, or it does seem like it's gotten smaller recently. I'm not sure about that.
Well, I am mildly surprised that we didn't get a like a South American or a Brazilian candidate on. In all honesty, I was relatively confident we would get one of those, and I would say that the old school Japanese kind of hardcore community in Dust is not nearly as big as I think people think it is. A lot of them have migrated, and if you think about it, like, it sort of makes sense, but probably quite a few of those folks migrate to PS4 maybe even sooner than folks in North America or Europe do.
Actually, on that front, it's going to be the opposite. I have some friends that are Brazilian and like Chilean, and due to the way that international trade works, prices there are drastically higher for a lot of things. So most of their playing population is only recently getting an uptake on PS3s just due to cost metrics. And that's part of why we saw an uptake on game population numbers from that region. It's all down to international trade.
Yeah, no, I got you, man. Like I said, I think overall I'm a little bit surprised we didn't get like a little bit more international flavor to TPM. But we got some folks selected, and we'll see how it goes.
And the other, just the last little popcorn trivia is that it looks like, despite Cross's best attempts to convince everyone that they needed to fill out their ballot, like 41 people voted just for Cross. So Cross is this year's judge without the likelihood of flaming out horrifically halfway through that.
Well,
I promise to avoid meth binges and temper tantrums.
Well, at least we get Pokey potentially if that happens. But
Don't tempt me.
No, you can't get rid of Cross. He's better than I would be.
I know we love Cross. Was there a comment about did I see in the Skype channel something about have you guys decided amongst yourselves on positions?
Not fully. I was informed by the bulk of my fellow council members that I am now chairman. I'm still not entirely clear what that means in this context, but I was, in no uncertain terms, informed that that's what was going to happen, and I didn't get a vote.
You don't need a vote. It just is. Okay, I'm fine with that.
In other CPM2 news, we're going to continue the tradition from CPM1 of making Pokey do most of the hard work, even though he doesn't have an NDA, and giving him his CPM emeritus status for CPM2. I'm already rummaging through a dynamic spreadsheet that he's built for CPM2, and we're not even to the point where all CPM members have their NDAs signed yet. So that lovely tradition will continue throughout the next term, I'm glad to say.
People in the same
just
hemisphere
their
have their
HCPM.
NDAs, but yeah.
No, I mean, it's spreadsheets you can believe in. That's what really matters.
Pokey spreadsheets you can believe in.
Yeah.
CPM confirmed.
Yeah, there's something to
Harsh.
that, I think. So, I guess before we move on, any thoughts on the folks that got elected, like general feel, or any surprises, or everybody pretty cool with the group that got pulled in?
I'm pretty happy with most of them.
Good deal. All right. Has anybody gone on that you were surprised about?
Yeah.
Sergeant Kirk.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sergeant Kirk. I have no feelings one way or the other, but I was surprised to see him get on.
Yeah, that hit me out of nowhere. I was reading the thing and I thought Sergeant Kirk, and I'd forgotten that he was running, but very, very surprised to see him.
Roots in the faction war community, baby. Does good. They're organized.
The hero of the Federation.
Yeah, I mean, it
Hail the
was,
Federation.
Aeon and Sergeant Kirk were the two people that weren't on my list, but I think that they'll both do fine. I've, already talked to them, some as we've started to, get communication lines running between the, old council and the new council, and I'm pretty happy with where things are, and I think I'm optimistic.
Everybody is usually a week after an election.
True enough.
And then it all goes down to shit from there.
See, I have the inverse response. The first week of last term and of this one is where I'm like looking around at things going, okay, well maybe, and I sort of chill out as time goes on.
Well, I think the personality mix is interesting, if nothing else. I think we'd probably start a betting pool on when we're going to have the first, no holds barred cage match amongst the CPM. So,
the whole physical summit notion becomes a lot more interesting this time around.
I firmly believe that
That's on the table.
You can absolutely make people a lot more cordial if you have to meet face to face, and then if you bring two pair of 16-ounce boxing gloves to the meeting, people get really friendly and are all about teamwork at that point.
Oh, so the
the
CPMs get free entry to what's that big fest called?
They'll cover a
FanFest.
FanFest ticket, but they will not. The big thing is that they will not pay for a flight or hotel. So if CPM want to go, it's a fairly expensive trip.
Yeah, but they still got free tickets though.
And that comes with some minor perks. We tend to get like the extra bonus stuff, and we can go up in the press area where there's free food. But it's nice. It's definitely worthwhile, and I hope that a lot of the CPM do make it up there this year. Next year, I felt it was really, really productive for us on CPM 1. I hope Cross, you agree with me on that, right? Very productive.
Yeah, it was actually one of the more effective times, I think, throughout our term. I mean, that we got more done then than the rest of them, but pound per pound for the number of days we accomplished a lot, especially considering the other things that happened within that sphere of time. And I think that the lack of more hangovers alone is kind of an accomplishment. But that aside, there was a bunch of stuff which is mostly NDA related, unfortunately, and weirdly considering that it happened at FanFest, but that got a lot of play and a lot of positive traction, I think, and making more inroads for the game's future.
What happens at
If it's still-
FanFest stays at FanFest, unless it starts a war in Eve.
Yeah, or gets live tweeted. So just a quick glance. It is kind of interesting. You have 3 Euros on, which is pretty good. So we at least get a broad perspective of things, or a broader perspective of things. Let's see. Zarya, we know and love. She comes on the show frequently and is truly a really, really good person to engage with about many different facets of the game. Let's see, Darth, who I have
She's awfully
never met.
quiet in the
Yeah,
podcast, though.
that's
Chat.
true. But it's one of those things where I think a lot of people's engagement in the podcast usually depends on who the rest of the folks in the room are. Darth, I haven't met. A lot of people have speak very highly of him, other than Zell, and I usually discount his opinion on most things.
You were here. You were here when Darth was on the show, weren't you?
No, it was not. That was the one I had to skip.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we need to get you introduced to Darth. He's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people say he's a really good guy, and he does have at least some fairly articulate forum posts. I will say that. Let's see. Sergeant
I
Kirk,
was
other than
actually
Go
talking
ahead,
to Darth, and he actually had no idea that he got any perks from being CPM, which I thought was funny.
yeah, well, perks are relative.
Relative, yeah. I mean, no, he didn't know that he got into FanFest for free, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, I think considering all the work that these people are going to put in for no pay, I think that at least that should be an option for them. So I'm glad that he got to discover that. But yeah, I've played with Darth quite a bit, and he is a great all-around guy, and I'm sure can do an excellent job CPMing it up.
I think it'll be good. If you think about it, with a small group with 7 people, you really don't have any fluff. So like in Eve, you have basically a 14-person set, and there's a lot more room for people to come in and out of activity. Whereas with 7, and oh, by the way, in a fairly tight shot group game like Dust, and with the community that we have, if you have 3 people out of the net at any one time, that probably is a significant pull on what they're able to assist the community with or assist CCP with. But
geez, way to put the pressure on.
No, that's okay. Well, the thing about it is, I was much more used to the CSM and Eve in terms of how a game community, a formally elect game community works, and it's really one of the more unique things in gaming is how the CSM evolved in Eve. There are other games that have similar kind of things, but I don't think nearly to the depth that CCP engages the player elected body in. So I came from that angle first, in terms of that was my understanding of how things work, was what I saw at the CSM. But it is, I would say, call it fairly or unfairly, there was definitely a perception from a lot of people, at least me personally, that we had swaths of time where there was very, very thin on at least vocal or apparent representation or communication from even the CPM. That's not evil. It's just, that's what happens when you have 7 people. One effectively quits, taps out almost immediately, and then you have real life happen over the course of a year. There's not a lot of backup in that. As I'm looking down the list, I know Zari's a very, very active player. Kevel is a very, very active bullshitter.
6 hours.
I knew that was coming. I knew you wouldn't go through this whole segment without taking a dig.
No, the guy, he might actually be a good dude to have a beer with, but I absolutely don't see his value added, or he's not as value added as he thinks he is. Aeon is obviously a rabid player, and I think rabid is the word. Darth plays a lot, clearly. Cross plays a lot when he's not at school or when he's not at work. And Kirk shitposts a lot. I assume he plays a lot. And then Braken, he's pretty consistent as well. He's pretty consistent there. So if you look at all the people that we got on, generally they're pretty consistent. He does, and he spends a lot of time forming and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how this all sort of evolves over the next.
You know what? I like it. I like this eclectic mix of shit disturbers and suck ups. Give them the carrot and give them the stick. Maybe see if that works.
And you need that sometimes. You have to work well with CCP, and it's helpful to be friends with CCP when you want to make sure they listen to you. But you also have to be able to put your foot down a little bit lightly when necessary to get stuff done.
I think it's pretty easy to be able to make a point about something not working or there being a problem without evoking any sort of histrionics or hyperbole. And I've definitely told both Ritati and Rouge at various times that I think ideas are poor or that other ideas that aren't happening need to be emphasized. And, the most recent time I did that, I got a thank you email in response from CCP Rouge. So it's not as if hostility or aggression are in any way needful to be able to say, hey, I think that this is an issue that deserves your attention and needs some polish and refinement.
Does Tech 66 win?
Well, in cat years,
Never.
Well, the most clear-cut issue for the new CPMs is to fix the server. I know that's not a programming issue, but I mean, I think for once we have one issue that doesn't even need to be debated. It's so obvious right now in Dust that, getting those server fixed, be it diagnostics, whatever, that's clearly everybody's
It's
number
not
one
really
priority right now.
something that the CPM can help with. That's purely on.
They already know. Trust me, they already
Yeah.
freaking know. It's not something that the CPM needs to sit there and go at. Checking for updates is helpful, but constantly just harping on, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, doesn't do anything because they know it doesn't work.
I don't know. Maybe they can reach new people or something. I don't know.
I doubt any of the CPM know enough about CCP servers to really help.
Yeah,
I don't think
CPM role
they let
is and
any-
was letting the people who need to work on it know that it's a thing, to which they responded, yes, we know, thanks for the heads up, we'll continue working on it. And that's pretty much where we are and where we'll remain until a fix is found.
Yeah,
Done
I'm
yet?
pretty sure
Are
that
we done
they
yet?
they
Are we
wouldn't.
done yet?
I have no idea what you said, but okay, sure.
Like,
So-
are we there yet, or are we done yet?
With the
Yeah,
show?
let's be
Maybe?
done. Let's officially
No.
be done with all CPM stuff and just for sure have it all out of our system now.
Well, the one other note, because I did think of one more note about this year's CPM, is I'm very happy to announce that as Breakin has been elected to the CPM, the trend that goons actually control the CPM does continue unbroken, as I carried the torch from Kane Sparrow, and will of course pass it on to Breakin as he transitions into the role.
We know you like holding things for Kane. So that's one. But two,
Oh
my
my
understanding
God.
is
Hey, Lavau.
Wow.
you weren't actually a goon, you were a pet. Is that not accurate?
I'm kind of a non-Eve goon technically, as I am on Something Awful.
A non-Eve goon is somebody that a cop rolls up on at 2 o'clock in the morning and beats with a nightstick. You are not that.
The definition of a goon is being a member of the Something Awful forums, of which I am. A paying member. I should specify. It's not free.
So you're being extorted. They're taking your lunch money to hang out with the cool kid.
Yes. Well,
Okay.
it's
That
more
sounds like goons.
It's more like them taking your money for permission to be able to hang out with the autistic kids. But it's details. But and then as far as my Eve status, I wouldn't say that goons treat any of the other alliances in their coalition the way that most alliances treat what they call pets.
Sure. All right.
I just want everyone to picture Breakin, Kane, and Zell all around the same table, preferably in a dark corner of a seedy bar, and just hold that image for a little moment. Think who walks out of there alive. I'll just leave you with that to muse on.
Oh,
Kane.
that would put the fucking Most Isley Kane to shame right there.
So yeah, I heard that Kane Sparrow announced his retirement last week.
Yeah, for the time being.
What
I
is
don't
he
believe
exactly
that. I don't
retiring?
believe that for a second.
Retiring
Not for a
from?
second. I think Kane Sparrow is like herpes. He just keeps coming back.
Well, no, it's.
I think we just hit a
actually-
podcast title right there.
The simple fact is like he's just like, hey, look, I don't have any more time for Dust or really any other games right now based on his like he's got a new job and some other things going on in his life, like positive things, and that's very
He went
understandable.
from freelance to full time.
Well, if you think about it, if you look at the amount of time that he was able to put into Dust over the last, year, it was, there were points where I was like, I'm not really sure if this guy is independently wealthy or sells meth, because I have never seen anybody that puts that much time into it. and money, by the way, outside of Dene.
He actually
But-
had issues finding work. He's freelance, and so he was like, might as well do something else with my time.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, but he's apparently I think it was a work. He's got like a new work position or whatever, and some other good things going on in his life. But long story short, I mean, he's just, I don't think he's playing any video games really or anything, not with any level of consistency like you would see from somebody in the past doing like community leadership and stuff. So it's not an evil thing, but it is interesting. So quick, let's go ahead and segue over to our new topic. So we've already covered our CPM stuff. We've covered the fact that CCP is aware that the submarine has holes in it and water's coming in, and we'd really all like them to patch those holes. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about tonight?
Your mom?
Solid.
Oh,
She lives in
jeez.
Florida, and she's batshit crazy.
Do we
So-
want to give the one friendly mention of the big youth lore drama step thing that was last week?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
that's a good one.
So, and by friendly mention, so long story short, one of the major NPCs in the game, the like Empress Jamil, who is the grand potentate muckety muck of
She dead.
the Amar Empire, is reportedly after her Titan was blown up by drifters
Dead.
in a player event, like a live player event actually. So
DED dead.
it is interesting
Sorry,
to see how that works out.
You're talking to a non-Eve nerd.
Okay,
For
The
it.
leader of the glorious Amar Empire, may their slaves ever cower in fear. She's dead.
except for
No,
one
but
small.
who are the drifters? Who killed this person?
Yeah,
The people that we
damn.
got the
That's a good
I
question.
could
Nobody
not
knows.
explain that to you in 30 minutes. Like literally, there's a whole long thing behind it. Long story short, there's another faction in Eve that is that took a parallel path. They split away from the rest of humans at one point and sort of became more almost Borg-like, is for the lack of a better term. So anyway, she is reportedly dead. The interesting thing about that is there was, when she became the Empress, like a lot of speculation, she was a capsuleer, so questions if she's really dead or not,
Well,
but
see,
we'll see how that works out.
she's part of Tony Gonzalez thing, writing, and CCP is kind of sort of trying to get rid of everything he wrote, so
So
likely she won't come back.
yeah, so one of the things that someone said in the channel, like a half an hour ago, was someone said that CCP Falcon said on another podcast, Hydrostatic podcast, to just not be like horribly ripping off their content or something. Something that she was confirming she was definitely dead and definitely not coming back. But the summary that I kind of got this weekend, I was at a goon party this weekend, so I met some goons. And so the whole thing is this Max Singularity dude shows up at FanFest dressed as the Amar Emperor or whatever, and has claimed for multiple times that the Empress had died before and was not the real, because they can't be like a clone. The Emperor or Empress cannot be a clone, and had claimed to be and it's this player that had claimed that he's the true heir to the role. And so the question that people are wondering is whether or not CCP would take the step of actually like selecting that player and telling them that they're the emperor of the Amar Empire, or if they're going to find some new NPC character or something like that.
Well, there's a couple other things in here. So without going too crazy, this is several years ago rather. What CCP was, what they would do is they would use live events like lore events to do in-game things. So when they were going to have like the Rite of Secession thing, it was basically a tournament. Players would represent different factions within the Amar Empire, and then they had an actual live tournament, and then the winner of the live tournament, that faction's representative, was installed as the Empress Jamil. Now there's some other chicanery involved in it, but long story short, they used this type of event as a content spur inside of Eve. That's really what I would like to take out of it. Now, the obvious assumption is they're going to do that again because they're working their way through the Alliance right now, which is apparently going very well this year. And if you really are into Eve, or if you ever want to see that kind of stuff, it's definitely not an esports viewing event. I can tell you that. It's very hard to follow if you don't actually play the game. But they're doing the Alliance tournament. So what I suspect is going to happen is by the time the Alliance tournament is over, or shortly thereafter, they're going to announce a Trials of a Session tournament, which is definitely kind of gladiator style.
I've been on the forums and they already announced that.
Oh, they have? Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yep.
So it's a cool thing to do, like in-game events to drive large parts of the lore. And CCP is very good about taking things that happen in-game, just player to player, and then weaving it into little nuggets in their lore. So they're pretty good. So there's a couple of people in Dust that were trying to make put the good old college try and like, hey, can the Dust guys be involved in this in some way? Like have, fights on the, like matches on the ground to represent a faction or something like that, and I applaud them for it because it would be, this is bigger than, very much arguably bigger than the whole Caldari Prime incident, which was a big and really the only to date significant live event in Dust ever. From a big picture storyline standpoint, this is a much bigger thing than probably even the Caldari Prime thing. So that being said, I thought it was interesting that it was happening. It's kind of cool in the storyline. And if they ever actually did anything to connect the two games, even if it wasn't in gameplay, the storylines would be so easy to do. They could do a lot of internal stuff. And by the way, that's one of the things that I think Aeon Amati might actually bring to the council is a little bit of push in that arena in terms of getting the two games connected by lore, because there's a lot of threads that tie together very easily. All right, let's see. As I'm looking down my list, anything else?
Anything ever come of that last discussion we had on Eve lore? Did they have the Eve people ever get people more interested in Dust, or was that just a pipe dream?
Well, I mean, this is the same lore event that we're talking about.
Did it happen in Molten Heath, or
no, and there's currently no real strong tie to it with Dust. I guess someone said that there was something about that Jamil's does actually have like the Templar, the Dust style implants or something, or had at one point, but I don't know.
Alrighty, so do we have other topics in mind?
But yeah, I think that was pretty much what we wanted to cover. Effectively, was a little bit of the blowout of the CPM stuff, and then the issue is there's not a lot going on in game because nobody can fucking play it because you can't get into a match right now, and I've tried like once a week for 3 weeks in a row, and the minute I go in there and I can't get into any matches, I tap out. I go to Steam and fire up a new game.
Yeah, even I'm tapping out, dude, and I'm like one of the most hardcore. I want to play Dust people that I know.
I've been trying to actually I've been playing further into Shadowrun Dragonfall after the I tried it for the spotlight we did. I'm like, I want to say 3 or 4 missions into it now. I try and find a time here and there to try, but I had no internet for the better part of this week.
I've been playing through the Arkham series.
Yeah, that's pretty legit. Have you finished the last one?
Yeah, I literally just finished.
Obviously not on
Arkham
PC.
Knight.
I am absolutely amazed at the amount of cinematics in that last
it's
game.
crazy.
Well, there's if you want to watch like a Batman movie, go to YouTube and watch the hour and 20-minute playthrough, cinematic playthrough. It's impressive. I was pretty. That is a pretty solid hack at a video game by those guys.
Yeah, and it actually, it contributed pretty epically to Batman lore in my mind, anyway.
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, whatever. Big boss.
I remember when I was younger, I tried to look up all the cutscenes for Metal Gear Solid 4, and it was literally hours upon hours upon hours. It's What?
It's 8 hours actually, give or take. It's 8 hour cutscenes for just the game.
There were some 30-minute cutscenes that something's longer.
It's
It's
not a
basically two
game
movies
that-
in a game. It's like
Yeah.
2 to 3 movies in a game. I mean, it goes on forever.
That is pretty accurate.
Yes.
Well, the interesting thing, I'm kind of keen to see what Rocksteady does next, because I think there's a big push, or there's a lot of discussion about having them take on another iconic DC character in Superman in particular. Something that is very difficult to do in a video game, and really nobody's done well that I'm aware of ever.
Nobody
just
ever
because
will.
it's just it's really really hard to do a video game with somebody who, like, what can they fight? I think there's a game. The last time I heard, maybe old PlayStation 2 or something like that, where you couldn't really damage Superman, but it was more about the damage to Metropolis was sort of his health bar, if you will. But anyway, there's a lot of discussion about if they think anybody can take on Superman, it would be Rocksteady, and have them do that, because they dropped a lot of Superman hints in the last Batman. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what they do next, or if they really step out of it and go in a totally different direction with something else.
Woo!
Bail 'em
Yeah,
out.
I need to jump on that Batman series. I think I actually have one. I got a free copy of one of the games with my
I
graphics
have-
card.
I
But,
actually have,
I
like-
haven't actually played them yet.
I have 3 or 4 of them. I actually started playing the first one on my PS3 because I own the PS3 copy of a couple of them, and I just it tends to be that when I turn on the PS3, it's to play Dust. So I that and Uncharted is the other thing that I started and never ever finished.
So now I do have a question, because I think a fair amount of you guys play Destiny. Have you guys looked into the Taken King update?
No.
That comrade.
Yeah, I've looked at it a bit. I mean, it looks interesting. I don't have high expectations for it because I lost my expectations with the other expansions, but we'll see. I think $40 is probably worth the gamble to see if they've learned their lesson. I think Bungie has made some decent attempts to fix some of the issues they've had so far, so we'll see if they pull it off. I mean, the game's amusing. It's just you gotta make sure you don't buy into the hype.
I
Well,
lost my
let me put it
expectations
this way.
after I was done the campaign, more or less. I mean, I tried to get demo player, but
About 2 days in, when you finish the campaign, it takes about like 20 hours, if that, to clear the whole thing. I mean, the value is very, very questionable if it's actually worth the money. I mean, I think I said in our spotlight for Dragonfall that my rule is typically I want 1 hour of gameplay for every dollar I spend in the game, and eventually I got that from Destiny, but it was almost entirely from PvP, which I'm honestly not a huge fan of anyways. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. And if you're going to enter the series now, it might actually worth it to get that collector's edition, because you can get the original game with all the expansions, including the new one, for I think $80, which it might be worth it. But,
No,
I think it's
actually.
60.
is
Yeah.
it 60 for all of them?
There's a collector's edition, yeah, but they're doing a thing like every year they're releasing a collection of all the previous DLC plus the base game. So people
How
can
much
like
does that cost?
$60. It's like
Oh,
a new
okay.
game.
That's actually probably worth it then for $60.
I
No.
couldn't get into Destiny, and I was a super duper over the top hardcore Bungie fan.
I think now my understanding is, so this is a little bit different than your normal DLC. So the Taken King is, in terms of like brand new content, it's, just looking at the raw new content hours on it, it's easily more than both the 2 previous DLCs combined, in terms of like new stuff. Now what
It's
they did
more
though,
than
they
the base
changed-
game and the DLCs
Hmm.
combined. It's really massive compared to them.
Yeah, I mean it is somewhere like, I think it's more fair to call it a true expansion, not like just a DLC pack. It's
Priced appropriately.
Yeah, and apparently they've
$40.
changed a lot of the actual mechanics or the stuff in the game that were creating confusion or not really driving players to get hooked into the game itself. So, like all the grimoire cards and all that stuff where you had to find out about anything going on in the universe, that might make you more interested in it. I think that's now a little bit more front and center. They're changing, I guess, the ghost, which is sort of for lack of a better term, your I don't know, your narrator or your little AI narrator.
Yeah.
That's changing.
Uh,
That's becoming much
assistant,
more
maybe?
into. Yeah, that's probably a good way to call it. So that's changing a little bit in terms of making things a little
new
bit more
voice actor.
open to players. Yeah, Peter Dinklage is out, and they're bringing in Nolan North, so that's a good thing.
He's re-recording every line Peter Dinklage ever said.
Yep, and apparently it's like so the stuff in the base game they haven't updated a lot of that, but in the newer content, apparently pretty dramatic in terms of the interaction you get between
Actually, they
your AI.
did say that they updated the year 1 content. Like it's not as big as the year 2 content, like the Taken King stuff, but they did reshuffle stuff. They did add some things here and there. It's not the same as it used to be.
Okay.
I'm still shocked that Peter Dinklage's voice acting didn't deliver, because I was a pretty big fan of his as well.
Were you in the
not
beta?
really a video game.
I was not. No, I was not in the beta.
They actually had him re-record a lot of the lines from the beta because I literally cringed on one of the lines because it was delivered so poorly, and they
came from the moon.
Or whatever that was it Warlock or something? Or no, that wizard came from the moon.
Yeah, that's the one where I just went, oh god, you got to be kidding me. And then they said they were re-recording it, and it was better, but it wasn't anything amazing. Oh, pretty much. No, it was. I mean, he's a great actor in Game of Thrones, but God, he just did not really deliver for the voice acting of the ghost. It was disappointing.
A common theory that he had to re-record like everything after the game story was pretty much done, like a year before the game release. Like they scrapped everything and started to rebuild it all after people left, and you know the story. Destiny basically was rebuilt a year before release. And he basically had to re-record everything, so he was disinterested in everything.
Well, voice acting. If you look, some games are really made and really enhanced by the voiceover stuff. Destiny is not designed as a game like that, and not everybody does voice acting very well. And he may just be one of those guys. He's a very talented actor, obviously, but I'm looking at a couple quick lists, and the general kind of Metacritic feel from a lot of the stuff is that Bungie actually...
You're cutting out.
Freaking mumble again. Jesus.
I'm not hearing anything from you guys.
All right, everybody be quiet. Pokey talk.
It's
okay. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, when I was watching like a train that you knew was going to derail, slow motion, and everyone's hopping on the hype train, and I was just sitting there like, all right, guys, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a fun game, but it's not going to be anything like you expected. So when the game came out and there was this, massive outrage, I basically got what I expected. So I wasn't, that upset about it. But, I think that that's how I warn people about, the expansions is don't buy into the hype. Just accept it for being an amusing game. It's fun. You'd get a new mobile server as well. This is pretty bad, especially after last week. We pretty much lost.
Okay.
Issues with
nothing.
But yeah, I mean, it's so it looks like from the business model for Destiny, it looks like they're gonna do a game, and then there's 2 mini expansions, and then on the year mark, it's gonna be a big expansion, and then 2 more mini expansions, and then I haven't been tracking too closely. Are they gonna release like a Destiny 2 at the 2-year mark? Like, is that the plan?
I don't think so. I think they're going to do like a WoW system almost.
No, the release plan pretty much got leaked. We pretty much know everything about their plans.
Where do you see this? Because I'm sitting here googling the shit out of this right now, and that is nowhere.
Well, I don't really remember where, but we pretty much knew the names of all the expansions before they were even hinted at. So the leak is pretty accurate.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I think that only went up through the 4 mini expansions and the Taken King. Did it go beyond that?
Basically, every 2 years, a major Destiny releases, like Destiny 1, Destiny 2, Destiny 3. Between that, there is a major expansion, like the Taken King. And between like the major expansion and the games, there are 4 mini DLCs.
Okay, that's kind of what I was tracking as well. I mean, I only bring it up because I think there are some fundamental problems with some of the systems in Destiny that you're not going to be able to fix just by patching it. You need to kind of reimagine some of it, the way that things work. So I think that in that regard, a Destiny 2 might be a good reboot to maybe fix some of those things that don't feel quite right and are kind of problematic for the franchise.
Considering the game also has to support last-gen consoles, it's kind of limited in scope compared to what it could be.
Well, and that's the other thing. Is I was kind of talking to my brother earlier about it today, and I said, is the Taken King going to be on PS3 and Xbox 360? And it is, but I do not see Bungie actually supporting the game on those systems much longer. I mean, they're obviously on the way out, and so I'm guessing that it would be kind of a slap in the face to have people buy the game on PS3 and go, oh, by the way, you're gonna have to rebuy it on PS4 because the expansion is not going to actually work in your system. So I think that the Destiny 2 might be a good time to jump and go, okay, we're discontinuing support for the PS3 in the 360 and moving on to the next gen system.
Yeah, that's the common thought about how they're going to go about it.
And I kind of expect that. I mean, sorry, go ahead.
As for what you said earlier about not getting hyped, the thing is that for like the original game, the we saw actually didn't go to the actual game. Like, I can show you the Vidoc, the video. Wait, what's the full name of the Vidoc? Video something. Anyway, basically we see their like scenes and like loot and stuff that never actually made it into the game, and it was all carefully crafted marketing material. But now we're like seeing streams of the expansions. Like, we saw House of Wolves and we basically got what we expected. Like, we saw everything before it released.
Yeah,
and they're basically doing the same for Taken King. So
yeah, I remember actually seeing a cutscene which did not appear in the original game, and it was not in any of the expansions up until now. So I mean, I imagine that's something that they've already kind of done and just haven't put into an actual content patch yet. So we'll see. It's the way they're doing development is kind of weird.
It's believed that it was removed as part of the giant restructuring that Destiny had like a year before release, when everything went to shit. Like, Leeds left the company, and Activision was like telling them, no, release the game, no more. We spent $500 million on this, release something.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't dump half their budget into marketing, or probably more than half, they probably could have delivered a higher quality product.
When you have to have
pretty
Sir
giant.
Paul McCartney sing a song to try to get people to buy your shit, you've got some problems.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money on marketing, but it was still a huge development budget. At
No
least
doubt.
100 million.
Yeah, I mean, people were harping like, how the hell did you spend $500 million in this game? And Bungie's like, well, we don't really know where all the money went, but what we spent on development was a lot lower. Like, we're not going to say that it was mostly on marketing, but
We maybe had a warehouse full of money where we just kind of accidentally burned it, but
CEOs doing a stage dive into a pile of cash or something like that.
Yeah.
The fate of AAA gaming in the modern era.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of trends that I dislike in that regard.
I tell you, I have recently been getting into a lot of more indie and smaller games. There is, there's a lot of them out there, but it really depends on the style of game you want. Like, if you're into the shooter crowd, like particularly FPSs and some higher end third party shooters, but really FPSs, you're like a slave to a lot of the big AAA groups. That's kind of a challenge. There are a lot of really good games out there that you don't have to get tagged along with those guys. There's some of the games I'm really looking forward to. Things like Tacoma coming out of Fulbright, that studio. That looks really, really good and has some innovative looking gameplay in it. But it is not a shooter. It's much slower paced. So
yeah, the problem with shooter is that you need really, really controls. You need really, really tight mechanics. And
no, I agree.
Indie teams can't afford to create that. They can't beat the AAA developers in their own game.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could come up with stuff like Splatoon, which is quite good, but I don't think you can come up with something that's going to, compete with Call of Duty, Battlefront, and all that other shit. And that it's not evil, but you're right, Kat. You're spot on. It takes a lot. It takes a huge studio to turn out something that polished. Storyline for Call of Duty is what, like 12, 15 hours maybe, or something like that. But it looks great.
No.
It looks really, really good.
The storylines were like shrinking from like 12 it used to be for Code 4. Now it's like 4 hours at best.
Oh, I didn't know that. Like, I mean, the last time I played one, it was, it was about a full day of gaming, so it was, about 10, 12 hours.
Oh no, they're enjoyable. It's like
Well, they
going to
usually,
McDonald's of the
yeah, you
video
know what you're going to
games.
get. Yeah, I mean, they look
Yeah.
usually very good. A lot of, like you said, very, very tightly polished movement controls and aiming, the UI, the weapons are good, all the sound effects are good. They usually have like pretty high end talent doing the voiceover work, even if all they say is like 2 words or something in the freaking
Oscar Mike.
thing. Yeah, there you go. But I don't know. You get what you get, but there's a lot of other games once you branch out of the first person shooter realm that you can really dive into some good indie stuff and not really be taken down the Destiny road.
Definitely, but that's exactly my issue. I'm a shooter guy. I don't have the attention span for anything that doesn't require me to like constantly be on my guard.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, like I've actually started looking into that game Insurgent, those videos that you guys picked up. That is actually a really fun game, and I would tell you.
You mean Insurgency?
Yeah, Insurgency, and I would tell you that there's, I think it was Jadek Menaheim posted a video of a glitch where all the UI went off of dust for a couple matches or something like that. That reminded me a lot of how Insurgency plays.
That was scary as
It
fuck
was
to
fucking
just
great,
even watch.
though. It looked
Even
awesome.
watching it, like it felt like having my balls squeezed. It's like, no, I don't want that. I'm afraid.
I was
Like not
no, go ahead.
now. Like not being able to tell friend from foe, not knowing how much ammo you have in the clip, not knowing how much health you have. It's like, no, I don't want that. Fuck that.
It was like I saw the I watched the 2 gameplay videos, and I've played around with Insurgency a little bit. And one, that is actually a shooter, not by an indie studio, but a very small outfit that put that
Yeah,
together
the
over
thing
time.
is,
It's
they
not
were
bad.
using the source engine, and they basically had everything built for them. It's basically based on Half-Life 2, the shooting mechanics. Well,
Sure.
not the shooting mechanics, the aiming, the movement. It was like based on the same engine. They like modders do that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. It was. I thought it was actually really, really good visceral gameplay.
It
To use the
was.
V word. I
They
thought it was
did an
pretty cool.
excellent job. Considering their budget, they did an absolutely fantastic job, and I would recommend everyone to check it out.
Well, yeah, and I mean, what's the biggest player count they can have in that too? By the way, like in a single battle, is it? It's
This
more
is
than
a
16
source
on
game,
16, right?
so the hard limit doesn't really matter. Like people can set up dedicated servers with as many people as they can support on their server.
Yeah. So I wanted to say it was. I think in the little quick matches that I saw, it definitely felt bigger than Dust anyway.
It looks like 32 from the Steam store, I think. 9 multiplayer game mode supporting up to 32 players.
Okay, so 16 on 16 then.
You might have found your way into a custom game. Those are very common with source games, and you might have even went into a 32 versus 32.
Okay, all right, no, that's pretty cool.
That's a thing with source games. Their player counts are very moddable.
No, I'm down with that. All right, so I'm gonna. So, anybody else want to mic here on for the show?
End the show, but I can hear what you're saying.
Oh goodness.
Well,
Okay.
what we're going to talk about is that we're getting a new Mumble server out of this because this is terrible.
Yes,
Mumble,
we
please.
will be on a new server next week. Absolutely. I'm done with this. I was hoping last week was a fluke, and clearly that's not the case.
Correct.
Yeah, so we'll get details out to the regular people that come on the show. But yeah, sorry about this, guys. This is pretty bad.
Okay. All right. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. And if we can try to muddle through shout outs, let's do that. We'll start at the top of the list. Pokey, anything?
In the spirit of the discussion, I'll say shout out to independent developers. I think that people are getting a little sick of the extremely monetized system we see with DLC and whatnot in more mainstream games, and I think that it's refreshing to play more indie games and kind of get back to the roots of what gaming used to be, several years ago. So shout out to those guys. You make some good stuff, and I'm always looking forward for suggestions.
Yeah, and speaking of Insurgency, they're releasing content constantly for absolutely free.
That's legit.
Yep, now I'll buy that for $1. Cat Merc, shoutouts.
Meow.
Well said. Cross.
I'm going to have to echo Pokey's shoutouts there. I'll even throw a specific title in for those who liked the Fallout game series and enjoy zombie things. Check out Dead State from Double Bear, their great little indie studio, and it's a lot of fun. And then shout out to Pokey Draven for being CPM Emeritus yet again. And I'm sure I'll be laboring late into the night over spreadsheets with him all throughout this year as I did the last.
Looking forward to it.
Good deal. Heracles Porsche.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to the Beast for taking the time to get out my last shout out I gave him. I want to give a shout out to Darth and all the other CPM candidates who have just made it in right now. Also, this isn't a shout out. If anyone wants to sell me their experimental weapons, find me in game. I'm buying up tons of them because I have lots of time to trade right now.
It's a lot.
Oh, Dookie. Zell, anything for a shout out?
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to all the goons that I met this weekend and hung out with. It was fun as usual. There was much alcohol, of which I drank none of, but it was a good time.
Okay. All right. So quick shout outs to the Podside crew, Podside Interactive, that helped us get started with podcasting, and we've basically been on their server since day one. So let me make this very clear, because occasionally they do listen to some of our stuff, and we have a really good relationship with them. Any move we're making to a new Mumble server, it is not out of a breaking ties with anybody on Pod side.
Absolutely, we love them.
Yeah, they have literally been hands down just absolutely awesome to us. And we would, I think, obviously, offer them some communication services if they ever needed it for whatever reason. We'd help them out just like they helped us out. So on that one, that's one shout out. Part two, let's see, shout out to Rainbow Six Siege, coming out on PS4 here pretty soon. Very, very keen to see that game in action. That looks pretty sharp. Let's see what else. And shout out to Harebrained Schemes, because we did the Shadowrun Dragonfall kind of deep dive the other day, and I've been on Steam for the last couple days playing their new edition Shadowrun Shadowrun Hong Kong. Very much the same style of game, very XCOM sort of Forgotten Realms style RPG. It is really, really good, and this is one of these games where if you actually read the text, if you actually get into it, it is an incredibly well-crafted and well-written narrative story in it. If you're into that kind of stuff, really, really good. So shout out to Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege for the PS4 coming out soon. I'll have my eye on you. And to the guys over at Harebrained Schemes doing us a solid with the Shadowrun Hong Kong edition. So with that, we're going to call episode 68 to a close, and hopefully I've not cut out so much that people can't understand anything I've said for the last 2 minutes. So on that note, good night and good luck.
Hey, Lamau.